And welcome back to Dudes in the Dumpster. I'm Bytrian.
And I'm Bunch-Lillian, your
And
favorite
we're here
host.
Hey, what are you guys doing with the recording equipment?
Hey!
I'm sorry about that. We don't know who those folks were. Pretty mad, right? Welcome back to Bros in the Landfill. Trybien here. We got Lunchbillion. We don't have any fake people who aren't us from some other timeline.
Well, not anymore, Jesus.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely brutally murdered them.
I think I broke my hand. Fuck.
Yeah, well, look, this is what happens when you don't have magic powers. You gotta use brute force.
You gotta do what you can. You gotta beat them to death with your Xbox One controller and your hand.
Look, I don't know how that Marvel does it, but you know, magic is magic. Like if they wanted to, they could have had Doctor Strange beat his evil self down with a Xbox controller.
Would have saved on the budget.
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking Multiverse of Madness, spoiler discussions, whatever. We can't really talk about the movie without spoilers, so.
Yeah, should we just say that from the get-go that this is a spoiler discussion? Because
from the get-go, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be completely honest. This is the actual existence of this movie is a spoiler.
Yeah. So, hope you watched WandaVision. I guess you didn't need to watch Spider-Man, but I guess.
Yeah, it's weird because this movie was supposed to come out before Spider-Man and then it got pushed back. So
I think this makes sense though. Like I feel like if this movie had happened first, I feel like Doctor Strange would be a lot less chilled. Be like, okay, yeah, I'll just mess with dimensions.
Yeah, well, but the other thing too is American Chavez was supposed to be in the Spider-Man movie.
Really?
Yeah. It makes you wonder what the original draft is. I'm glad No Way Home turned out the way it did. But in some way, No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness existing in the same timeline feels sort of weird.
Yeah, it's like they had two ideas for a multiverse movie, and so they just did both of them.
Yeah, because there's no cohesion with how any of that stuff works. There's no talks of incursions or Doctor Strange can just magic multiverse stuff without the Darkhold or where.
Well, okay, in the Spider-Man movie, it's because the spell went wrong. It's
wrong. But the spell going wrong implies that there's a way within Doctor Strange's powers to be able to affect the multiverse, and then he's able to do the spell again, affecting the multiverse at the end, sending them back.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's be real. The what is possible in the Marvel universe is quickly ballooned into complete impossibility to possibly comprehend.
It's I would say it would make sense for him to be able to do that spell and make that accident if he had already read the Darkhold at that point.
That's a good point. I think that at a certain point, after Loki, I'm okay, I have no idea what the fuck is going on anymore. There's so there's infinite different timelines and infinite realities.
Well, there's the whole thing about how now the MCU is now 616, even though it wasn't supposed to be 616, and then apparently Mysterio just happened to guess that it's 616.
Oh, gee, that's too granular of a detail for me to have even paid attention to.
Well, I didn't even pay attention. I mean, I was aware. I've followed enough Marvel stuff to know that was to know that was kind of weird when it was said in the movie, and then people were talking about it after the fact, on my Google newsfeed, because my Google newsfeed gets polluted with Marvel stuff whenever there's a new Marvel thing coming out.
Sure, polluted. Get this waste out of here.
Yeah, but this whole Phase 4, I feel has just been very weird.
It is. Well, they're just they're really willing to just play with reality, play with the rules of the mythology and the lore. Everything's just exploded in these last couple of works.
To be fair, this is the most Marvel comic-y the series probably has felt, just because the Marvel comics being written by so many different people all around, and like having sort of like a make it up as a go sort of feel. Like there's just I look at some of the Marvel lore, I'm just like, how is this one cohesive universe?
Yeah, shit's getting really, really crazy at this point. But I'm here for it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Also,
it makes it.
Oh, sorry.
In some ways, it makes it a lot more fun than like what like Phase 3, because like Phase 3 was taken so seriously, and like it was like this really tight, cohesive like narrative leading up to Infinity War.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now that the multiverse has hit, everything's kind of just shit the fan, and it's all like anything can happen now.
I'm honestly like, I was talking to my friends who I watched this movie with, right after the movie, and they were talking about how they thought it was stupid that Doctor Strange fought the other Doctor Strange with magical musical notes.
My mom said the same exact thing. And
I thought it was cool, but the point I want to get to,
stupid.
Okay, well that's fine. It is a bit stupid, but the point I'm getting to is that like at some point I'm gonna stop taking the laws of reality and what's possible a little bit less literally, and just try and think about it as a story and something with a lot of flair. And so I'm like, okay, like if you really fucking crunch the numbers on everything happening with the infinite timelines, the infinite dimensions, and does everything line up and make sense? Probably not, but I'm willing to take the broad strokes of the stories on their own merits, I guess.
But
I totally understand if that pisses people off.
Well, I'd say like even still, like you have like almost like two different MCUs going on between the movies and the Disney Plus shows, because the last two movies were just pure fun, like pure nonsense and pure fun. Like No Way Home was so much fun. Still a lot of nonsense in terms of what the MCU was, especially with how like different timeline stuff was already established in Loki, and then the Multiverse of Madness just comes in. It's just a whole nother it's pure Sam Raimi goodness and fun. Like, yeah, there's character arcs and there's kind of a story there, but a lot of like that takes second stage to like this like grand set piece that like, and like this sort of like almost like stage play-esque sort of feeling that Sam Raimi puts into his works, where I feel like there's so many like theater influences, and like even like in the original Spider-Man trilogy, you watch that and it feels like you're watching something that was on Broadway but with a movie budget. And like it's just very big, emotional, fun, shocking, like where
there is a real sense of drama and perhaps even melodrama to the to these big set pieces that you're talking about. I do think it's very set piece driven. I don't know. So like if you don't mind, I kind of wanted to slightly switch gears and just talk about
yeah, that's fine.
It seems like, so when I saw the movie, I saw it in a group of 4 people. Half of us liked it, half of us disliked it. And looking online, like it seems like people seem unsure how to feel about this movie. I happen to be on the side that loved it. In fact, this is actually one of my favorite Marvel films, and so I feel like, wait, am I crazy? Because like,
no, I think you're absolutely justified. Like, it's not my favorite personally, but I have a lot of respect for the movie.
We've talked a lot about just random finicky multiverse stuff on the way here, so it's funny that now I want to talk about how I feel about the movie. But I loved it. I won't say it's the cleanest movie ever. It's definitely a little bit messy, but I love that it takes the familiar Marvel universe and the kind of fun we're used to having with it, and then it goes in some truly unsettling directions. There's some real like cold, uncaring sadness of the universe happening. I love the whole implication that like, we've just seen like this universe where everything turns out in a narratively satisfying way, but there's other universes in which everyone fucking died. There's unimaginable destruction and sadness across all of them. And like, it's like around like halfway through the movie or something where I'm like, man, what happened to that fun movie I was watching? Like, everything's so depressing. Doctor Strange is like shit, I'm like one bad day away from becoming a horrible person. And what happened to Wanda, man, is like, fuck. Yeah. That was like a character we cared about. Now she's just completely lost to grief and trauma, and there's no therapist alive or with enough magical powers that can possibly stop her.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Doctor Strange isn't a therapist.
No, he is not.
He needs to be a pretty bad one.
There's just this kind of this discomfort, this sadness behind it, and I really bought into it. I can understand that, like, there's a lot of reasons to feel like the movie is maybe a bit like, oh look, we put in all these we put Charles Xavier in it, and check this out, and like like to feel like it was a bit rushed or flat. But I don't know. I saw what it was trying to do, and I really connected with it.
Well, I think on two fronts. I think one, like, it was a matter, like, I feel like the visual storytelling is where the movie really shined. Like, given, I think the second thing too is I almost feel like I kind of want like this Snyder Cut treatment of this movie, because so much happens in this movie and it's already a pretty long movie, but I feel like it needed more time to breathe. It was because it was constantly firing on all cylinders at all times, and it was almost exhausting.
That's fair.
To an extent.
One of my friends who watched the movie said that he would have preferred it as a series, which I can understand.
Oh yeah, I'm a bit mixed. I think a series would have been too long for the show. I think it needed to be that 3-hour epic, like because there's just some details that just kind of fall through the cracks or feel kind of shallow because of how much that they had to cut out of this movie. Because like I feel like the movie was too ambitious.
They packed so much into it. I think for me, like it was borderline, but like as someone who is a bit sensitive to like overly fast-paced movies, I thought they did pretty well with what they had.
Well, I don't think
but there are some moments that probably could have hit a bit harder.
Well, I don't think it was necessarily too fast-paced. I think I don't think the problem was necessarily a pacing. I mean, yes, it felt like it was running on all cylinders, but like it kind of gave it a bit of its more horror sort of vibe, like where you always felt like on edge and anxiety that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was just certain points we needed more downtime, because I felt like some characters entered and exited way too quickly. Like
more
the
downtime
original cut
would
of the
have been good, yeah.
Yeah. Like the original cut of the movie had like showed like that alternate version of Wanda's backstory. And I felt like that would have given us more, like there was a lot there where, like, for example, like the alternate version of Wanda, where there's these awful things happen to these people, but we don't care about them because we don't have any context or like understand. Like it's just some characters pop in just to be killed.
I assume you're talking about probably my new favorite MCU spoiler of all time, which is that Jim from The Office dies.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love the, like, here's the thing, like I absolutely love the Illuminati stuff. And
me too, actually.
But like, and to an extent, there's like some a bit of things there like you feel like you care about, like, and there's like this cool, like I do like the conversation with Kang and what was it, Kang or whatever the other sorcerer guy is with Doctor Strange.
I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah,
we'll call him Mr. Green.
Mr. Green. Like I thought their dynamic was really good and really great for Doctor Strange's character development. But I also feel like on one hand, having Wanda be able to come in and just wipe out all these other superheroes in like a flash, it really established her, like, horror, like really established just how powerful it is in the horror.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, but the other part of that is like you bring in these fan service characters. It would have been nice to at least get to know them a bit more before or like to see them in action a bit, because they end up just turning into putty rather than like seeing them actually in action, like establishing these are strong people. Like, in some ways, it almost felt like, oh, this is just a weaker universe than MCU.
This is definitely a scene or a section of the movie, right? I can understand having a wide variety of opinions. For me, I think it really worked. Like, it's hard to. I can totally understand the criticism that like, okay, we don't know them, we haven't seen how powerful they are and stuff, but like, I don't know. Like, I at least got the impression like, okay, first of all, like they defeated Thanos and then they fucking killed Doctor Strange in their world. Like
yeah.
I like I know we don't really see this stuff, but no, for me, right? Like,
but I say them defeating. I would say them defeating Thanos doesn't really stack up for me because it's implied. It's pretty much supposed to say that they beat Thanos because Strange read the all-powerful Darkhold, and that's so the power that Doctor Strange had at that point is the power that Wanda's using at this point. So like we've established, like it's more so like. It's not like that team was so strong that they beat Thanos. It's that the Darkhold and a magic user who uses it is strong enough to defeat Thanos. So, and we already know Thanos is stronger than most heroes. So it's no wonder why Wanda is able to defeat.
But I don't know, like for me, like it's not about like the numbers and the power levels, you know? Like the idea is that they're like an equivalent to our Avengers. And like they are like I can assume that they've been through about as many fucking movies as what we've seen. Yeah. And like, for me, like, it works because of the whole scene, the whole idea that like Wanda comes in, they show up and they feel like they're totally ready for her. And like, they don't know that they're in way over their head. And I think there's a real tension there. And so the second that first guy dies, you realize they're like, oh no, like, they're realizing that they're in an intense life or death situation when they were not expecting it a second ago. And then bang, dead. Like, and there's just like the fact that she takes away the Scream guy's mouth and then he tries to scream and blows himself up. And then
that was no, the actual kill, like, and like, I'm not like for me, it's not that I would remove any specific scene. I just would have liked to have more stuff established in the movie. So, like, I don't think it'd be too much to ask for to show a scene where they're fighting together successfully to some degree, or or even like, and they could have shown shown more flashback of the Thanos fight of them all holding their own against Thanos and not
that's fair. Like that's just asking for a setup, and I think that giving those random heroes setup, I can't really argue with it. If you made the movie as a whole longer, I think you could get away with that. I just thought it was really powerful when they got fucked up. Like, when Mr. Fantastic, like he gets about time to throw like one punch, and then he just gets fucking stripped away, and there's just like that. Yeah, the way he just screams because he can't do anything about it is like, oh, it's harrowing, man.
Yeah, like, there is no individual scene I'd say in the movie is bad. I just say, like, I'd like to have some more establishment for the characters who just enter and exit.
Oh, and before I forget, I just want to say, it's fucking hilarious that, like, this movie's so jam-packed that, like, to get that setup that we need, Doctor Strange and America go to an alternate universe where they can literally, on a jaunty walk, step on a backstory button that plays a video of their backstory. It's like, that's great. That's great. Like that.
I will say I would have loved if there was some follow up through that. Like I would have liked to have some more time in that, or like it feels like, oh, this is just, that was a good moment for them to better understand each other. I would have sort of loved that there was like some payoff to that, like after the fact, like, because it almost feels Chekhov's Gunsy of like, oh, this was just introduced as an excuse to show backstory to both of them.
It's an insane idea to just drop in there. So like, because you don't come back to it, it's like, it's like, it seems like a parody of lazy writing almost. Like, it didn't really bother me watching the movie, but in hindsight, like, they literally stepped on a button that played a video, a DVD. That here's my backstory.
Imagine this. Like, imagine like if they had actually, this could have been like a crazy way to bring in like Wanda's back, like that other Wanda's backstory, is if Wanda dreamwalking through that Wanda steps on that thing, then they show the Wanda from that universe's backstory, and then that further triggers. Wanda.
Maybe. I mean, there's got to be something you can do with a backstory button or an excuse to jump into people's memories. But yeah. I don't know. I just wanted. That's just a random kind of quippy note.
Well, it's like there's a lot of great individual scenes, but like, and and this might overall sound like a criticism, but I think asking for more movie on an already very long movie, like in some ways, is also praise, because if we didn't care about the stuff, we didn't think the things were already good, we wouldn't want to have more to help further establish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking him to cut stuff out. I'm like, no, more. I'm hungry.
More. Yeah, like give us the Snyder cut.
Yeah. I know this is a really scattered conversation, but like,
I mean, back it's to multiverse of madness.
That's true. Going back to like visual storytelling, like I love the scene where like Doctor Strange decides to like possess his corpse from another dimension, and like
that was
all these like fucking crazy, because like, you know, we're told like, oh yeah, it's this forbidden evil thing, don't do it, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna do it. But then like you see how fucking terrifying it is for him, with like these fucking the souls of the damned come out, and they fucking like pull him into the darkness and like pull his body like underneath like the ooze or whatever. It's like, oh shit, his real body's just like convulsing. Like, I don't know, it was awesome.
Yeah, you know, just that, but like that sort of like thing where it's like, I feel like like there's this weird like mixture of like Doctor Strange is also kind of like it's like this cocky, careless person. Like, I don't think there's any other character in the Marvel universe like that would take that sort of like risk.
Yeah.
But that also like plays into like Doctor Strange's whole character arc of like him needing to be the hero, him needing to make the sacrifices. And like, I think there's this that's sort of like the ultimate culmination, like of him reading the Darkhold and him doing that is like, because there's that line at the start of the movie where it's like you're always the one taking the knife, or you're always the one holding the knife.
Yeah.
That's like Doctor Strange, like, and in that instance, I'd say it makes sense. He's like literally the only person who can go and save her, but like he's willing to go through all this torture on himself just because he's the only one he trusts to save the day.
Yeah.
Because and that's the thing. I mean, like, think about the first movie, he like pretty much causes himself to die jillions of times.
Yeah,
like in this game.
I like how they do a pretty good job exploring his character, and like, yeah, his arrogance, but also his inability to like have other people let other people into his life or to help him, or like the fact that he way even overestimates his own ability. And
it's like he knowingly caused the blip because he felt like that was like, he saw that was the only way to go forward with like to beat Thanos. But like he held that guilt, knowing that like he was causing all this pain like within him, like, and he laughs it off and he puts on this front, like, but like he takes on the onus of the responsibility of like, I am going to be causing a lot of pain going forward.
It's
but
like
I have to like I'm going to take this burden because we have to stop Thanos.
It's, you gotta feel for him, because it's like you see all these other universes where like, yeah, people are just fucking wiped out, or like a horrible shit happened. Like
he's an like, I mean, Marvel, like the Marvel universe in general is a very tragic.
Yeah, like universe. That's something like, that really, this movie really draws attention to that. Just because of the fact of the multiverse, it means that there's just like, there's so much suffering in so many other worlds. And like, even though it's just like basically I guess you could call it a sequel to WandaVision, but I feel like it's kind of its own thing largely. And like, it's interesting how it feels to me a lot darker in general than say, than a lot of Infinity War and Endgame did, just like by like, yeah, there was just a lot of unhappy endings. We went into a universe where like all the Avengers just got fucking horrifically murdered. And then they just left it and like, well, that's that timeline now. Hope Scarlet Witch got back to her kids.
Yeah, and the timeline's probably gonna like implode on itself, like, or encourage, or whatever. Like, but like it's spooky stuff. But what was I? It's, yeah, man. But like, I think going like this, like almost like being a follow up to What If as well, because like What If shows all these like tragic sort of like, it shows a picture of like these hopeful and these tragic sort of worlds, but like Doctor Strange's story and that What If story with him is like really fucked.
Let me tell you, I've only actually seen one of the What If episodes, which is the
I'd say
Peggy
if
Carter
you like
one.
it's like if you like if you liked Multiverse of Madness, What If is great. I think the Doctor Strange What If is another great insight in on his character.
Okay. I just it's interesting that like I watched the Peggy Carter thing and I thought like, okay, whatever. Like I wasn't really I didn't really love that one, but then like I still felt bad watching a character that I knew about get sliced in half, and so I'm like, maybe that led some credence to what you were saying about caring about the characters. Though I this is just another random quippy observation, but I love that the entire time you're watching that What If episode about Captain Carter, that you have no way of knowing that, and it's canon in that series that you cross the line at red.
I'd say like I would probably argue that isn't the same. You know, like it's I'd say it's questionable if that's the same Captain Carter from the What If.
It might not be.
Just due to some of the events that happened in What If, I'd question if that was the same one, because it all kind of like circles back.
It's at least a similar kind of adjacent universe.
Yeah. I'd say, speaking of like other Marvel media, like one of the things that like I really worked for me watching this is the fact that I was watching the season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the same time, which is all about the Darkhold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like it's nice having like feeling like there's continuity between. Like now I don't like now the movies have been sort of like the movies and the show have been sort of canon together at some point, not fully or whatever.
Yeah.
But like just like I see like I've seen people like say like Wanda's character doesn't make sense. She shouldn't be this brutal and stuff. Where like the Darkhold like in like MCU like well like at least like I feel like it's pretty well established both in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like even discussed in the movies, like it's this corrupting force that preys on like your insecurities and your desires.
Yeah, I think someone
pushes you to
given access to that kind of power when they're that and that much grief and trauma and have no.
Well, it's not just that there is like the Darkhold itself is specifically insidious.
No,
like,
I know. But
oh yeah,
I feel like it's a bit of both. It's a plot element I'm willing to not take entirely, completely, like literally, like. It feels a bit like I know that the book is forbidden and evil, but it feels a bit cheap to be like, Wanda read bad book, now bad, like because it's like it does have a corrupting influence, but like it's I feel like it's grasping onto something inside of her that is hurt and broken, right? Like the Doctor Strange who used it in the other universe with the third eye, like. He went and sought it out because he was lonely and sad, and like after all of his accomplishments, he wasn't happy. So like, I don't know. I think I honestly think it works, like, and it does give Scarlet Witch a very fucking tragic story.
Well, and like I'm not like saying like, oh, the book turns you evil. I think it's like and it is that more complicated where it preys on your insecurities. Like there's that scene at the end of WandaVision where like she's reading the book and then she hears the voice of her kids. Like it's not an evil maker. It's an like it preys on insecurities, and the more time you read and the more you play in the power and stuff.
No, it drags her further into the darkness, basically.
Yeah, because and that's essentially like how it like worked in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where like some characters could just look at it and read it and like they'd be kind of like acting a bit irrationally.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the characters who were like spending a lot of time with it who become obsessed with the power that they were trying to get from it that really went cuckoo.
It's like if a really depressed person starts going on incel forums. You know?
Yeah, pretty much. Like it enables those dark thoughts and tendencies.
Yeah,
and then I think in terms of like, and something that's like a multiverse, and then playing onto her motherly instincts or like this trauma she's had from Westview. Like I just think combined with that, like it kind of just preyed into this, like I will do literally anything to be with my kids, even if it means ruining other people's lives and killing them.
Well, because like after everything happened there, like in that village, like she didn't like then come back to like a friends and a support system and therapy or something. Like she then went to just being completely alone in a shack somewhere. Like what was left for her after going through all that shit, like of course the darkness was going to keep growing.
Well, and not just that, like there's also like that resentment she has towards Doctor Strange as well, because like Doctor Strange is able to do plenty of immoral things and hurt a lot of people and still be treated as a hero. But like throughout
from the other universes, you see, he really is just like a flight of fancy away from going way too far.
Yeah, but like throughout the MCU, Scarlet Witch has always been treated as a villain. Yeah. Or like disdained by the people around. Like she's had her friends, and Vision was this rock for her to bring out her goodness. But like after his death, and then everything that happens in Westview, and then like that sword messing around with Vision and stuff. Like I'm not entirely sure the reasons why Vision wasn't around for her, or wasn't in the movie. At that point, I kind of forget exactly because I thought Vision returned through.
At the end of WandaVision, I think it's not exactly Vision. It's like I mean, I guess that show is sort of playing with that idea of like, is it Vision? Is it not? Like, what does it mean to be the same person? But I think that was a separate entity, and it probably would have made this movie more complicated than it needed to be.
Well, and I think not just that, like without the Vision Stone, it doesn't have like the same sense of like it doesn't necessarily have the same soul. It's like
it's like a copy, but like you'd think that might play interestingly into things, but considering that like she wants to see her kids who exist in another universe, right? That like are technically not hers. Like you think, okay, can she not accept this other Vision? But he's just not in the movie, so I guess.
I was thinking more of like it is like because he doesn't have the Vision Stone, he is more just AI than this thing with a soul.
I still think it would have made sense to play with that a little bit, considering she's willing to accept a counterpart of her life. And like WandaVision kind of ends with this whole thing, right, where before Vision dies, he's like, say something along the lines of like, we'll meet again or whatever, like in some other form, in some other reality, which is a beautiful kind of poetic or romantic thing to say. But I guess however they mean again now is going to be super non-literal, because she's crushed under a pile of rubble. And
I mean, I do like how they left it open of like, is she really like dead? Like they've created this situation where she could have died, but they could have written any number of excuses why she could have survived.
That's true. But like, what do you even do with that character afterwards, man? Like how do we get the audience to accept her like being in it anymore? Like, she's so far gone.
I would say like that we're probably looking at something like at Phase 5 or whatever. Probably won't see Elizabeth Olsen's probably going to take a break, just like how what's his face that plays Spider-Man's probably going to take a bit of a break from the MCU since they've done a lot of movies and recording.
Yeah, they could bring her back and do something with her, but it would have to be a while later. We just watched her kill Jim from The Office, and I'm not willing to. Can I tell you, we literally decided on a whim to go see this movie because we were talking about The Office.
That's funny.
We were like, Jim's in this movie. Should we go see it?
Yeah, it makes me excited to see like what they do with Fantastic Four.
I hope Jim from The Office is in it. I wanted to see more of him.
I would be surprised if they cast a different actor for him and Fantastic Four, just because of how much the fans have been asking for John Krasinski to play the stretchy guy.
I love that guy. He needs if he could be a real character in the MCU, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I think he was a really good fit for the character, honestly.
I don't really know that much about the character, but I'm willing to.
I don't know much about I just think he looked like the character enough. Yeah. And he played it up nice. Okay, so like I guess for just a change streaks, like again, I'm gonna like talk about some of like, since we're talking about like some of the cameo characters of the horror elements. that scene where like Dr. Xavier, like Professor Xavier goes inside like Wanda's head. Like
right, and she's like buried in like a fucking like tomb kind of thing, and he tries to pull her out.
Yeah.
And then like you see him like kind of give up on it and give into fear as the fucking aura appears behind him, the fucking storm. It's like,
yeah,
damn, he just wilted, you know? Like it's scary. Shooting at people's heads and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
but like
there's
I
so
also,
much
like,
stunning
love that, like,
shit in this film. It's so cool.
But I also like that visual foreshadowing of like you have like Wanda like there, she's like trapped under rubble. Like
oh, true,
and then at
true,
the end
true.
she literally
that happens to her at the end. It's really cool.
There's just so many great moments of visual storytelling. I will say, thinking back to one thing that I'm kind of just like the scene I'm kind of iffy on still is that musical notes fight, and not necessarily because like musical notes fight. It just felt like a very cheap fight against what's supposed to be a stronger version of him.
Yeah, you'd think that Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange could be a whole fucking movie long fight scene. You know, you'd think there'd be all kinds of shit going on.
Like you think it turned out like he was the real big bad all along sort of situation, but like that was one of the scenes that I think apparently was part of the reshoots. So I don't know what they may have had a longer scene planned for but they had to reshoot and cut back.
I think part of why I don't mind is that like I wouldn't. It seems like a foregone conclusion that he's going to defeat this Strange and take over this shit. Like, and if he doesn't, then it's a completely different movie. Like if he's, I don't know. I kind of like. I'm happy that it was just sort of over with, but if he had done something clever defeated him in a way that he knows only Doctor Strange would be vulnerable to, like, I don't know, that'd be something.
I know. I kind of almost wish that it wasn't a fight. Like, I wouldn't have mind that old trope of like seeing like finding an older, more jaded version of yourself.
Yeah.
And like, and then like using that as some way to play into the themes of like Doctor Strange being like how him like always like holding the knife in that sense, you know, and like maybe it could have been like cool to have like Doctor Strange like either forcibly take the Darkhold or be, or whatever. I feel like the fight just felt kind of like awkwardly timed and paced. It just comes in. I'm gonna fight you. We're fighting with musical notes. I push you out the window and you get stabbed. And almost ironic. Like it was almost like there's almost something comedic about the fact that evil Doctor Strange died by being pushed out a window and then being impaled by.
Actually, this is almost changing the subject, but I do like how they remind us that these all-powerful characters still have human weaknesses in this. Like,
yeah.
I feel like there's a few times in the movie, like even just during the initial fight with that big monster with the eyeball, like they you can see that they're amazingly powerful, but they are vulnerable to stuff that humans would be vulnerable to, more or less. They fudge the details, but like, you know, like, that's really, it adds a level of like intensity and tension to the scenes they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, well, it's really playing that horror vibe that the movies go for. Because like I mean, Sam Raimi's like great horror director. Like he's really like. There is no point in this movie where you think that Doctor Strange can reasonably defeat Wanda. This is like one big chase, like run away from the monster movie.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
And I think it really works. It's not something you usually get in a Marvel movie. Usually it's we got to figure out what the big bad's doing, and we got to go stop them. And there's a twist that wasn't actually the bad guy. There's another bad guy that was actually manipulating them, or the bad guy we thought was a bad guy was a good guy, and we were being lied to by the real bad guy.
No, this is a new kind of structure or I guess way to put together a Marvel film.
And I think it really works because there's a lot of like scary, powerful creatures and beings in the Marvel universe. Like not everything needs to be like a superhero movie, because in a lot of ways this didn't feel like a superhero movie. This felt like a magic horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I liked that. This is it's funny how like you watch Spider-Man, like I love Spider-Man. He can jump around, he can swing on fucking ropes and stuff. Like what a badass. And then like you watch this movie where like the characters are routinely like fucking like breaking reality and like jumping through dimensions. I'm like, oh, this is a different thing.
I sincerely want the 3-hour Raimi rated R cut. Like all the stuff that they had to cut out or change because like Marvel would have said no to, or they need to cut back on.
It punches pretty hard for what it can get away with. I was actually surprised that that it is dark. All right, I'm gonna jump on one more subject that we haven't gone into because this movie's so huge.
Yeah.
But
quite literally.
Yeah, the plot line, or I guess I don't know if you want to call it a plot line, but the whole aspect of Doctor Strange and Christine, I actually really liked it. I feel like this is the kind of thing that maybe some people would feel is a bit tacked on or something, but for some reason I thought it really worked out.
I think that was a very important part of the emotional core of the movie and Doctor Strange's overall lesson, because Christine is his one big regret, and losing her is his one big regret, but like he's accepted it in the past. Like, oh, I'm a hero, I have these obligations, I have these duties, I have to shoulder this burden, I'm like the only person that can really like do this. And then he lets his relationship with Christine, and in an extent I feel like he buries those feelings of love and doesn't want to admit that he loves her, because then that means he has to face the pain of not being able to be with her.
Yeah, it adds this new element to how kind of generally snarky and rough he is, like in general, like because you don't really see that softness from it, and it makes sense that he's kind of he's put it away.
Like he doesn't need to be the super logical like doctor who solves every problem perfectly. Like he can rely. He. I think him admitting to Christine at that moment was a very important part of him, like opening up to others and trusting others, which was further developed by him instead of like him realizing he doesn't need to defeat Wanda. He needs to. Like, Wanda needs to learn her lessons, and American Chavez is the only person who can do this at this moment.
Yeah.
Like, and then he was able to create a finale where no one was really hurt, if that makes sense. Like, there was no... The only person who had to shoulder the burden was the person who did the awful things.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And I love that he learns from seeing the failure of his other selves, and and the whole idea that, like, man, I fuck up this relationship in every fucking timeline. But that's like, that plays into my core character problem, and why would I have been driven to the insanity I was in these other timelines if I had been this better version of myself.
Yeah, if you like that stuff with Christine, I highly recommend watching at least the Doctor Strange What If episode, because like that really sells his character for me, and I think it adds so much more context to Multiverse of Madness and Doctor Strange's character in the MCU universe.
Okay. Yeah, I really liked this this aspect of the film. I think it really brought things together. And after all this, all this violence, all this sadness, all this, having to deal with your own failure and your own evil and all that stuff, like, that scene where he just very, genuinely tells her that, like, hey, like, I love you in every universe, but, like, I can, like, all these versions of me could never say that. Like, I don't know. It's such a warm moment, I loved it.
That's the thing I love about the Raimi films, like Raimi's like superhero films, like, because those same moments are in the Spider-Man movies. Like, there's like these broken, seemingly irredeemable characters that Raimi somehow is able to redeem or make likable despite the awful things they do.
It's the sincerity, I think, that I love about Raimi, and I think this movie kind of plays on the edge of losing that sincerity, but for me it worked, and I bought into that.
I don't think any other director, at least in the MCU, would have been able to pull off this level of redeeming characters for the awful things that they do or the burdens they like hold and whatnot. Because like even Doctor Strange does a lot of questionable things, and like it draws attention to a lot of the questionable things in the lives that he's ruined. Like despite still being a hero. And Raimi really gives him that sincere arc, and gives like Wanda that sincere redemption at the end. Like, and it's sold by the actors. The actors do a phenomenal job selling these scenes.
I agree.
But like he I feel like another director or another writer would have, like, even with Wanda doing the things she did, would have had Wanda get off easy. Where like at the end, it's like she comes to the realization of just how much she's fucked up. You know? And that's how they defeat her, is like look at what you did, pretty much. Like, look at the monster you've become.
It is nice to see Doctor Strange learn to win with the power of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and like it really shows a new depth and growth for his character that I hope that they carry through in future installments.
He shows like he like sees something in this character who hasn't gone to do anything the whole movie, which I think is probably a flaw in the movie, but the fact that he's like, he wouldn't have even considered her before this point. Like, wait, what if I actually trusted someone?
Yeah, that's it. It makes me wonder, like, how this would have, like even with just Doctor Strange's arc, I wonder how this would have worked pre No Way Home, because I don't see the Doctor Strange post Multiverse of Madness acting or behaving the same way as he did in No Way Home.
Yeah. The reason No Way Home can even happen is because he's being a careless jackass, basically.
Yeah.
No, I think these movies, I think they both turned out great. I actually really loved both of these multiverse movies, but I can see that why both of them could rub people the wrong way. Like, one of my friends I saw these movies with disliked, or I think thought Spider-Man was okay and thought that this one was bad, and part of it was for him like, just this kind of corporate like, I guess like nostalgia pandering, or like bringing in like actors that you know and stuff, and like how it distracts from the story. I think for him, he was talking about how the low point of the movie is when they just pulled out Charles Xavier, and he's like, ugh, like really? I'm like, I kind of get that.
Like, but like I feel like for me, like the fan service moment still felt very sincere. It's like how they named like that group the Illuminati, and they just like say it like, and then there's just an audible laugh in the theater, like where I'm at.
Yeah, I think for me that fucked with I think for my friends that fucked with like the mood a little bit, but I don't know, I just accepted it.
But I think, but that's also sort of like Raimi's deal, is like Raimi writes these horrifying, like awful stories, of these like these depressing stories that affect people. Like, and the Spider-Man movies have so much horrifying and depressing material in them.
Yeah.
But there's so much humor in them, and like just goofiness and campness that like actually like make it feel like the sort of thing you'd see in a comic book.
Isn't it like a magical fucking balance that they're striking to make it fun in that way, but also to make it like genuinely disturbing in places like
that's some of the magic of like Western comic books, is how they balance heavily like fucked up material while also having that goof and gaffes and silliness. And I think a lot of past Marvel movies have gotten around it by like trying to like play it like serious and like, but also having like sort of like awkward humor, like the awkward like relatable human humor, like, oh, like we're friends, so we make that funny joke that friends make, or like we rib each other because we're friends. But very rarely does it hit that goofiness that comic books tend to get.
This movie is genuinely, in some ways a little bit goofy. And like, I think there's actually a bit less of that attempted levity by like quip. I think there's only a couple of times where they really go for in this movie. And I actually, like, where in other Marvel movies, after like, you know, that guy accidentally blew his own head up, someone would probably say something. I mean, okay, not that intense, but like, you know, like, there was only a few little quips in there, and I honestly appreciate them in that movie. Like, there's that bit where like Doctor Strange like confronts Wanda as a zombie self. He's like, it's gonna take a lot more than killing me to kill me this time. And Christine like gives him like a really expression. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah. I feel like in any other Marvel movie, like his head wouldn't have blown up. It would have his head probably would have rattled. He maybe saw some like blood going down his ears, and then he'd fall over, and then someone would make a dumb quip about that.
Yeah. No.
Like this was for the shock value immediately, and I think it worked because that's the sort of thing that would have, like, I mean, I could have seen like the one thing happening in a Marvel, like in a comic book, but like there's a real like genre of comic books that are horrifying, but they still have the goofy moments. Like they just like, and it seems like the more horrifying it is, the more overt the goofiness is. Like you need to have like almost like. They need to like balance each other. Like the less striking and horrifying it's going to be. You don't need those big goofy moments because you're kind of almost playing a more serious tone. Where when you're trying to do something that's like kind of like big and shocking, the humor needs to match that tone. Like if you're having like quips or like the typical Marvel humor and all this other goofy stuff's happening, it all in some ways instead of like writing that line, it would almost just like undercut, like it'd be too much of a tonal weirdness.
Yeah, so I think they spec to this correctly. Here's one more random thought. I think that the one way they could have made the upsetting horror vibe hit a little harder, even though I think they did a really good job, is like if one of those shocking, fast deaths had happened to a character from our universe, and I don't recall that happening. Like if one of our heroes like got hit with something like the accidentally exploding his own head moment, like that sheer upsettingness would be like no, but it's that guy, like fuck, you know?
Yeah, no, it's tough because so many like of the actual like Marvel heroes are just kind of done already. Like you have almost like you have very few Marvel heroes who are in the mid state of their development. Like Doctor Strange, I think, is like really the only one,
right? Because
like you have either one. Let's say you have either ones who are just announced, or you have someone like Thor who's been around forever, and this is probably going to be Thor's last movie coming up. Or like the Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is going to be the finale of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, all the characters that kind of built this empire on are kind of phasing out or reaching natural endpoints. So like, I guess they're building up their newer characters, and doing that to one of your newer characters is just fucking stupid.
Yeah,
but I don't know if there was a way to do it. I think it could have helped. 'Cause, like I'm thinking like kind of like Game of Thrones vibes, where one of the things that was so amazing about that show was like how they didn't hold back on any character, no matter who they were, for most of the run.
Well, it's like they would have had to do it on probably like a side character that was not like showing up any like much of anymore. So like I guess they could have done it for Wong, but Wong is too much of a fan favorite.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Really, like, there's that scene where Wong like falls off a cliff, and I was kind of thinking like, you know what, it could work if they killed him here, but also like, I don't want them to. I don't know. It feels like a cheap shot.
I think there's such thing as losing too much faith. Like, well, having the fans lose too much faith in you and too much goodwill. Also, just by the nature of these contracts, I feel like whatever contract Wong is under, like it wouldn't have worked for him to die in that movie.
Killing Wong would be a waste, I think. But there's got to be. Well, there's so many characters in this universe. There's got to be someone you can ice for effect.
Yeah. Like, and it's something they'd have to establish coming in to that. I mean, in a way, they kind of killed Wanda at the end of the movie, but
yeah,
that's still like.
I'm not just talking about killing anybody. I'm talking about like the way that those characters graphic. Got so like unceremoniously and upsettingly killed in the other universe, like.
But I think the only reason why Disney and Marvel signed off on that is because they don't matter, because they're in another universe. Like, they're not going to upset anybody with those. And that might also be why they kept those cameos short and they didn't have any other like establishing stuff with them. Because like it's very potential that they didn't want people becoming too attached to those characters before killing them.
Anyway, this got a little bit into the weeds. It was just an idea.
Yeah, I'd say like maybe like to round it off. I think the only one we haven't talked about, the only thing we haven't talked about in this movie was American Chavez.
Yeah, that's because she's like kind of more of a plot device and a character. I think they did an okay job with her when she was being used, but she wasn't really used other than to drive the plot.
Like it really felt like it really had. I've said this in other discussions. Like this felt like Phase 4's Civil War, where it's like they introduce like they use this as a chance. It's like they have two big Marvel heroes fighting off against each other. Really huge stakes that have a big impact on the current phase. So like in like Phase 3, it's like the Civil War was a really big moment in the like a big shattering moment that set up Endgame and Infinity War. Like Multiverse of Madness, I feel like it's kind of like it's that midpoint Civil War moment. We have these two big heroes. What they've done, like their interactions has caused these incursions to start happening, which is probably going to lead into whatever the big Phase 4 finale is. When we use this to introduce new heroes, so okay, like American Chavez, new hero, she's going to be brought in. I can definitely see this as them using this as an excuse to bring in to introduce John Krasinski's Fantastic Four guy. I can't believe I forget.
He's just Mr. Fantastic. Or
Reed.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah,
Reed Richards.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, like I think they use this as a chance to bring in to introduce Reed Richards, because since the MCU Fantastic Four I think is in production anyways, and I think it's been theorized that the Fantastic Four bought out Stark Tower, so. Like where the old Avengers Tower, where like the Avengers were. Like I'm pretty sure like it's either been theorized or it's been somewhat established that or hinted towards that the Fantastic Four or Reed's owns that now.
Sure.
So like if I see this movie as a Civil War, which Civil War was a bit of a mixed bag for people too at the time. I think that this movie makes a lot of sense in that case. Like we're using this to introduce new heroes that are going to be part of the next phases. American Chavez might have her own movie, might be her own. Like she's got a story, she's got set up just like Spider-Man was. Like she's the new Spider-Man. You have Reed Richards, who theoretically could be the Black Panther. In that sense of like where Black Panther was introduced, you got to like him and whatnot. But like that also not like really being the same Reed Richards from the MCU, but you get to at least show him on screen as the role.
So we're familiar with him. No, I get what you're saying, and that there are definitely some parallels to draw between these two movies, and they part of the bloatedness of this movie probably is them trying to set up other movies because like they're all so connected. But yeah, I all that said, I do think that within this movie, America herself was kind of like a casualty of that. It is a bit weird how they kind of set up the movie earlier on as if her and Strange's relationship is going to be important, and then it kind of isn't. It's kind of, but they forget about it for like the whole middle.
It's weird because it's the start and the end, like, and that kind of goes back to the sort of thing where it definitely feels like there's been cut content, but. That initial start where like that relationship, like that like bad relationship with the other like universe's Doctor Strange, like is a big establishing point for our Strange's him being better at the end and like him overcoming his faults. And there's also some dramatic irony of like the Strange that tried to kill her and take her powers for the greater good is technically the Strange that saves her from the character that's trying to steal her powers and kill her.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of cool dramatic irony in that.
It's like no, I did like her. I liked her role in the movie. She just has a bit of like Tails the Fox syndrome.
Well, yeah, I know, and like she's there to service everybody but herself in the movie. Like her character arc is like the traditional, like is like it's like the very typical learn to control your powers. Then it's like you've had the power to control your powers all along, and I do think it was important for Strange to be the one to do that for her. Like that was a very like, but her included her involvement in the movie served everybody but herself.
Yeah, she's there for other people's development, not really her own. So hopefully she gets some more growth or attention in later movies, because she does need it.
Well, I guess I could say the same thing about Spider-Man and Civil War. It's like he's really just there for Tony Stark's character development and stuff. Like he doesn't really come into his own until Homecoming.
Yeah, I agree. It's just kind of the issue with like these movies juggling so much, and like I wonder if it's worth not juggling so much in the future. I think it's one of the most consistent issues with these movies.
I would also say the other thing with American Chavez, I'm kind of concerned that she's just going to be a Tails. I don't like. She's still like she's a much new like even like within the MCU, well the Marvel Comics universe. That's like she is still a much younger, less like established, famous character. Like and like it's like we had Eternals and we had Shang-Chi, but those were also still older comics. Like I don't see her getting her own movie, or like maybe maybe a TV series, like Amazon, like an Apple series. But like I don't know what you do with that character, because she seems like a character who's just written there to help other characters get to other multiverses.
I mean, you'd be surprised or I was surprised how good a job they did at giving, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier their own series, and Loki his own series.
That is true.
Like, I think any of these characters given enough love and attention can be good. I think they've shown that a bunch of times. And I also feel like if Disney wants the Marvel series to continue for the rest of time until we're all dead, then they should invest in newer characters. And like, even if because eventually they're going to run the well dry on like characters anyone gives a shit about. I mean, they're already probably there. So,
well, it's like, I guess I know. Well, I think because since she was supposed to show up in No Way Home, I think I question like, are we going to see anything actually focusing on American Chavez anytime soon, or is it going to be something? Is this like an investment for a few years down the line? Because when Spider-Man and Black Panther were introduced, it was because they had movies and like already being produced at that time. Like Spider-Man and Black Panther came out shortly after.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what they're doing with her. I don't know if she's going to be like the equivalent of like Black Widow's sister, that just like, okay, relevant, but will just show up again as a side character, or like, I don't know.
Which, I mean, and that's actually a really like fair point. Like, I could definitely see American Chavez just kind of like showing up and being a side here, and like we have like that whole like other like group that like Black Widow's sister and the other Captain America, U.S. agent.
Yeah.
Is it like we have that stuff going on? We have no ideas what that has anything to do with anything.
Well, there's another Vision. There's all kinds of seeds being planted.
There's so many bits and pieces like established behind the scenes right now, and like not even including Moon Knight bringing all these Egyptian gods and stuff.
I actually haven't even seen Moon Knight, so like I've got no
idea. And then we have the Eternals, and
I forgot about Eternals. I fucking watched Eternals. I completely forgot.
It's like, and then we have Ant-Man, and they're going to be doing Quantumanium soon.
Oh, and then fucking Kit Harington's going to show up with a sword, maybe. What's going on?
Like, and then don't forget the Guardians of the Galaxy still have their finale wrapping up, but who knows what that's going to be about. Like, Phase 3 of Marvel was Phase 3 of Marvel was already a bit dispersed, but they managed to write everything around, this is about Thor. This is all leading up to Thor in the blink. It was very, it was a mess, but it was also it was a very tightly designed mess.
Yeah, there's a million plot threads and characters happening right now. I got no idea where any of this is going.
It's like Phases 1 and 2 were simple enough to lead into their designated Avengers movies. Like, those were simple enough. But it feels like the MCU at this point is expanded so much that I almost feel like it's a bunch of mini universes within one universe.
You need like a fucking detective dartboard to fucking follow the show anymore.
And don't forget, Black Panther 2 is still in development.
Is it? What is happening there?
Yeah,
okay, we should probably wrap this up because you're completely off topic.
But. Yeah, I know. It's just the real multiverse of madness was the MCU all along.
It fucking is.
And it makes you wonder if the X-Men are somewhere in the universe too. Like, you know, like if so much stuff could be happening with no one else knowing, then the X-Men and all of their shenanigans could probably be happening right now and nobody know about it.
Have two universes smashed together, and instead of incursionify, they can into one universe. And they're like, hey, well, there were always X-Men now. Cool.
I can't wait for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man to become a mainstay of the MCU.
I mean, they could fucking do it at this point.
Well, and then don't forget, we have like somehow Into the Spider-Verse is probably going to play somewhere into there, like because like they're playing around with multiverses too. Like I know that's its own universe, but now like the news, like there's like I think it's like 2-part Spider-Verse movie coming out where like they're doing more multiverse stuff, and like it opens the door for that stuff to come into the MCU, like. Like, are they going to end the second part of the Spider-Verse sequel? Or I guess that'd be a third movie. Are they going to end it with a live-action Miles Morales at the end credits scene where he's, like, in New York City?
Oh, I'm sure Miles Morales is inevitable. But you know what this reminds me of, Trybien? This is like,
what?
There's this one animation on Video Game Donkey channel that's like, oh, who do you think are going to add to Smash Bros? What if they add in an alligator and he's holding an airplane and he says, who wants the fish and chips? And then what if there's like a train that had legs, and it's like just the idea of like who's coming next is like completely lost all meaning at this point.
You and I both know that a train doesn't need to have legs to be in a platform fighter.
That's actually fucking true.
But that's a story for another time. When Bros in the Landfill crosses over with Smack Studio again.
Wasn't this movie like so Rick and Morty? Like it felt very Rick and Morty.
I will take your word for it. I have never watched Rick and Morty.
The idea that there's a meaningless number of infinite universes, and in every single one you're a fucking dick is like pretty much Rick and Morty.
As I said, watch What If. It's like Doctor Strange's What If story is just one of those things where it's like it adds so much more context to the multiverse of madness. And Doctor Strange as a character that I love. I just love it, and I love that What If even more after Multiverse of Madness.
All right, I'll have to check that out. Probably just that one because I don't know if I can be out with What If as a whole, but I'll watch that one. And
What If as a whole is actually it's sad because the first What If is pretty bad, IMO, and like the rest of it is actually like quite good.
It was just like such a.
There's
like,
a lot of.
It was such like a.
It's such a. It's because it was so tonally weird. Like they made it like, and I guess it takes a little bit of time for you to really get into the movie space. But Captain America is a really weird one to be as goofy as it was.
It's just weird to turn like killing the Nazis into a girl boss moment. I don't know. There's something in my brain that's not computing. But I don't think I even liked the original Captain America. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, and then the other side of that too is like just the way that Tony's dad was written was just like he's just like kind of like the comic relief coming in shipping them.
Yeah, that's another. This is another whole thing.
This is probably the maddest episode we've ever done.
Thank you for indulging me in this like complete like in this multiverse of madness, right?
Yeah, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is probably still one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think it could easily be within like top 3 if it was like if we get a like 3-hour Snyder cut of it. Like if we get like some more time with the characters, maybe get some more fun scenes. We get the moment where Doctor Strange, like we get the moment where evil Doctor Strange turns to the camera and says, "We live in a society."
And this has been Bros in a Landfill.
Signing off.
Dear God.